not their last. But really quickly, Proof Advertising, independent agency. What excited me about this pivoting to brand panel is that we work with brands like Subway, really known. We work with them in the US and Canada, but it's interesting the perception of Subway in different markets, as well as we, being in Austin, work with a lot of startups. So helping new companies kind of figure out their brand. So for me, that's my intro, and would love each of our panel to kind of introduce themselves, the company, how long the company's been in business, as well as what makes your brand a direct-to-consumer brand.
I am Andy Anderson. I have been with Aflac for roughly 2.5 years now, but the company itself has now crossed over 6 decades. I'm the media planning and buying manager for the organization, oversee the above-the-line media channels that are heavily focused on brand awareness, knowledge and connection type of KPIs. Even though we have been around for 60+ years, it's been a product that requires a lot of sell-through through the workforce. And so we're actually edging towards that direct-to-consumer mentality, and that's part of the reason that I'm so interested to be a part of this series and be able to learn from you guys on the opposite side of the fence.
What's up, Brand Insider? Eric Bandholz here, founder of Beardbrand. Beardbrand is a premium men's grooming company. We are on a mission to foster confidence through grooming. We do it through our core values of freedom, hunger, and trust. I am the founder. I was walking down the street and I just found Beardbrand on the side of the road, and I was like, man, I'm going to keep that one. It's a nice thing. We've been in business for about 6 years now, and we're a small team, about 15, here in Austin, Texas. And I currently serve, I would say, kind of in the creative director role within my organization. So building the brand and telling the story is really important to me.
Hi, everybody. My name is Valerie Moore. I am the Director of Global Brand Strategy at HomeAway. So HomeAway is an interesting business. We were purchased by Expedia approximately 2.5 years ago. So it changed the model quite drastically. So in the last 2 years, we've really been reinvigorating the business and truly building a lot of foundational elements around branding so that we are bringing our brand to life in the right ways. So similar to the speech we just heard from Ancestry, we did a similar exercise of really kind of digging into our roots and understanding what made our brand tick. And we're at the great inflection point of really being able to bring that to life in a lot of ways. HomeAway is a business that has been around for about 12 years, so it's just been great to see all of the innovation of the last 2 years and really see things grow.
Thanks. I'm Dan Rosen. I'm the Senior Creative and Marketing Director at Hubble Contacts. Hubble's a DTC subscription daily contact lens, pretty simple product. We launched in November 2016. I've been there since the beginning, so it's been quite a lot of growth. We're now in 30 countries. Yeah, pretty simple.
So 6 years old, 64 years old, nice range of companies. At Proof, when we talk about brands with different clients, it's for us, a brand is somebody who leaves not just leaves an impression to a consumer, but a lasting impression, and truly distinguishes themselves from competitors. So, posing to whether you're a 6-year-old company or 64, what defines a brand, and do you think you actually have a brand today?
I think that I would have to say yes, right? People know the Aflac duck. You're greeted by quacks, Aflac. The challenge that we have oftentimes is that people know the duck, they don't necessarily know what the duck does. So I was very interested in the ancestry conversation because there's a lot of challenges that we're also facing that are very similar. But one of the things that I do know is that our brand actually started by the Amos family selling cancer policies to help consumers through financial hurdles. When the major medical doesn't pay, we're there to kind of help alleviate some of those stressors from a financial perspective. The one thing that I will say is that we are very happy that roughly 9 out of 10 individuals in both the U.S. and Japan, know the Aflac brand. So the door handles are warmed when we get ready to go in. It's just really starting to activate around that education and awareness that takes us one step further. I will say that throughout the ages, the one thing that I'm proud of for this particular brand is that they've never lost sight of what their passion is, which is being able to be there for consumers in those times of needs that are associated with health issues and concerns that can also be alleviated by a quickening of financial relief.
Yeah, for me, a brand, we kind of talked a little bit about this early. There's the visual aspect of the brand, which is the duck, right? With Aflac, and then there's what the brand means, the promise, the story you're telling, the community, the tribe that you're trying to build, and you kind of need to have focus and energy on both of them. A pretty logo and pretty colors and stuff like that are really completely worthless without that mission and that promise to what you're going to do for your customers. So I'm a big believer, obviously, in brands. I'm here, and I think there's a lot of risk out there for consumers, especially on Amazon, where Amazon's trying to kill the brand, but subsequently you have an increase of counterfeit products and just shady stuff just in the marketplace, which can only last for so long before consumers start to learn and hate going through the return process, I guess, for lack of a better term. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I love brands, yeah.
I think the one thing I would add to that is just being very customer centric. So I think it's something that that brands that have been around for a bit of time are really having to think about how do they, one, truly integrate customers in every single step of the process for us, the booking process. How do we understand what their pains are, what makes them tick, et cetera, so we can build those solutions that actually make their lives easier, in addition to, from a branding perspective, obviously having the positioning, your brand promise, all of those things that you bring to life in terms of what your communications say.
I think for Hubble, our brand is really as a differentiator from kind of the four major contact lens companies. And I think we try to distinguish ourselves by meeting people a lot more where they are, by being relatable and approachable in a way, and not kind of this clinical corporate CPG contact lens company that most people, I think, didn't even know what contact lens brand they were wearing or where they got it from. It was like toilet paper for a lot of people, and that's something that you put in your eye every day. Not the toilet paper, the contact lenses. And so we wanted to kind of get people not excited about contact lenses. It's like maybe the least sexy product in the world, but kind of excited about about affordability, about convenience, and just spreading awareness about eye health and daily contact lens and the benefits thereof.
Well, Dan, I wear contacts, and Hubble has not marketed to me or branded to me, but for me, direct-to-consumer channel is really, is it a shift is it a rebel channel to the old business model, or is it a reflection of consumer shifts and expectations, mentality? Again, for me, I still go to my eye doctor, I buy my contacts. I just learned about Hubble.
Well, that's probably my fault then. I apologize. I think, contact lens industry is very entrenched. It's very kind of, they're huge companies. They own search. People get their contact lenses through their optometrists, for decades, and that's obviously something, that's a relationship that's important to a lot of people. But I think, we're seeing that a lot of the major companies are now also starting to advertise on Facebook and go online and send us cease and desist letters, and all those indicators that kind of I think show that they're realizing that this is something that people haven't thought of, and now they're starting to think, okay, why do I need to go to my optometrist? I always forget to reorder. There's a far more convenient and dependable way to get my contacts. I've never even thought about the price of my contact lenses. I don't know, is $1,000 a year? Why? I think there's a lot of products like that where we just buy them and we're like, okay, I guess this is how much it costs. And so I think we're trying to really challenge that convention. Obviously, you still have to go to a doctor and get a prescription and work with them. But I think in terms of the convenience and the recurring shipments, I think there's a lot of room for that to change.
Question I think everybody had, and Ancestry did a great job showing how they kind of measure success. But when you guys look at brand advertising and defining that success, is it still the soft measures like awareness lift, or because of unified data and things being more trackable, are you looking at branding as also what are the business outcomes, what is the return on ad spend?
You know, I heard a phrase that I wrote down, put an exclamation point beside just a few minutes ago, technology debt. We got a lot of technology debt on our side. You know, when you've been around for 60 plus years, the model has shifted. To go back to your previous question, is it seen as a rebel kind of coming in? No, I think we're looking at it as an evolution of the platform in the way that we're approaching and addressing consumer needs. If anything, it's kind of caused us to think more holistically, which has also allowed us to start to bring down some of the walls that have existed across our internal departments. From a measurement perspective, though, those walls are slowly falling. On my side of the house, we are still tied to brand health measures across awareness, knowledge, and connection with our consumers. I will say that we've chipped away at that throughout the years, where it used to be more reliant upon just awareness and then straight to consideration. We totally missed the mark in kind of making sure that we're telling people exactly what it is we want them to buy and what we have, right? So we've started to align our KPIs through the upper portion of the funnel and started to work with our digital team on the back end to understand where those multi-attribution touch points can coexist. We also are a little limited in terms of our systems speaking to one another, because as we have evolved over the years, our business model has evolved from agent-seller relationships to broker-seller relationships. So not only do we have, you know, multiple technology platforms, multiple departments, and multiple sets of KPIs, the state of where we're at as a company is forcing us and causing us to think more holistically about it. So long rambling to say we've got to get our ducks in a row, because on my side of the house, yes, we still value those softer metrics, but we're looking for ways to ensure that we can tie back to the more tangible ROAS type of opportunities to assess the level of effort that our advertising has been able to deliver.
So a little more about Beardbrand. Beardbrand is a bootstrap company, so it's me and my two business partners, and we have no debt, we have no outside money, so we don't have a load of cash sitting in the bank right now. So subsequently, everything that we do from an advertising perspective, it has to help the company grow, and it has to help us be sustainable. So that mindset, you would think about, like, all we can do is, you know, like direct response, call to action type of marketing. But I want you guys to think about when you go on dates, right? When you go on dates with someone, there's a lot of investment, a lot of time, energy to connect with that individual. But when you form a relationship with a partner or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, then the cost of going on dates is just simple as, hey, you want to go out, right? So it's really simple. So how we look at that is that relationship is like your brand. So by building your brand and investing in your brand, you're allowing the cost of acquisition to dramatically go down over time. So you need to have a little bit of that long-term vision to be able to say, I'm investing in the brand, because what it's going to do is drive my costs down the road. The majority of our acquisition actually comes from people searching Beardbrand. And I'll tell you, my competitors can't bid on that because they're just going to blow money out of the wad. They're just going to blow their budget out of the wad. What do you say? Blow their wad on their budget. I've never been good with words, so my apologies. But yeah, so
Aren't you creative?
Yeah, there is that balance between building that brand to drive costs down, but really having that commitment to it, knowing, and that faith, knowing that it will do it if you do it properly.
We were, I would say this is something that we continue to struggle with as a brand to this day, trying to tie those brand and soft metrics back into true ROAS. So similar to most corporations, there are budgets and weird corners of our organization. So what we've been really trying to do is stitch a lot of that together. So similar to what Andy mentioned on breaking down walls, it's literally just been trying to, one, help newly established teams around data analytics, help them help us, and vice versa. So just sitting down, coming up with hundreds upon hundreds of different hypotheses so that we can truly build the right correlations between those different data sets. So very similar struggles to, I think, a lot of the folks in this room, but trying to be very, very smart about how we are measuring those things. But I think it's something where truly, I mean, to this day, ROAS metrics probably do outweigh a lot of the brand metrics, despite the fact that we've got a pretty healthy pipeline of metrics around awareness, affinity, et cetera. So I think it's just, for us, it's been slowly chipping away and getting those wins day by day over the course of time.
Start, or I can go again. I think I answered this one.
Might have started.
Yeah, I think I started this one.
Actually, Valerie, HomeAway is part of the Expedia family.
Yes.
So how does HomeAway position itself separately from Expedia, or does a consumer really know the difference between the two brands, that they live within the same house?
So great question. I think that there's a lot of blending that's happening that people are so HomeAway underneath the Expedia umbrella is our vacation rental property, or our vacation rental hub. HomeAway as a brand has a lot of brands underneath it. So we've been slowly chipping away at understanding what drives consumers to purchase from all of the different brands, what brands matter, which ones don't, so that we are properly looking into our brand architecture. But I think to your point, I think it's been a matter of trying to start identifying what it is that we bring to the overall Expedia umbrella from a unique perspective, and making sure that we are also blending our values as a company with theirs. So we do a lot of reaching across the aisle. There's a ton of collaboration across all of the different sister companies. So from Hotels.com to Trivago to Travelocity, learning a lot of their best practices, understanding how that would apply to our business, and then vice versa, because we were a startup to begin with, we have a lot of homegrown technology and platforms that other brands did not have, so they're equally learning from us. So it's been an interesting adventure to just see how all of this comes to life over time, and how the brands are continuing to evolve.
So we talked about if branding is being measured the same way as direct response. But out of curiosity, when you look at your spend, what % is going to branding versus direct response? And do you feel like there is a secret to that perfect blend that you could share?
I'm guessing you want me to.
Yes.
Okay. We're admittedly still a heavy brand spender. However, my background comes from the digital side of house, but my heart is with TV. I love some good TV. So in my role, we've been able to start to push more outside of what those more above-the-line channels are, so that our budget is starting to right size with addressable TV usage. We've been able to now have 2 programs in market, so I can illustrate the power of using our first-party data to really impact our overall reach and frequency with what we're doing with our general market advertising. It's taken a lot of education and just re-education internally, only because some of the systems we're using to measure our performance are not not up to date with the footprint of my video buys. So, and oftentimes we're starting to chip away at that budget and move from the more above-the-line awareness metrics to things like the OTT space, addressable, FEP, all of the acronyms that are related to video buys. However, I would say that we still are finding our way to moving more in the more DR side of house. The one learning that we've had is that it's got to be a delicate balance, because at one point there was a major shift from brand into DR media, and we all know what happens there. Your rate base increases and you just flip everything on its head. So now we are back at square one, where we are taking measured and incremental approaches with movement towards DR.
Yeah, I can chime in on this as well. We don't really designate our budget as like brand spend or direct response spend. So our strategy is more of building organic at the top level to try to introduce our brand and our company to our audience. We found that that's the most cost-effective way. So we've got a fairly large YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers, getting hundreds of thousands of views a day. And then our blog as well. We invest a lot into our blog content, and then our email newsletter. And by doing that, we severely drop the cost of acquisition, and we kind of focus on the brand, and that's more of awareness to our company. And then once they hit our website, then we'll start to try to get them into the funnel, so middle funnel, bottom of the funnel, where we introduce maybe a little bit more about the brand, a little bit more about our story, our product ethos, and then drive it down to like the specific product that they've been looking at through remarketing, retargeting, and really just kind of have that blend. Surprisingly, we also found that, from like an email perspective, that our brand messaging with like no call to action, no products, where we're just re-emphasizing our story and what we're about, can actually drive a significant volume of sales compared to, hey, we got a new product, or whatever, free shipping.
I would mirror a lot of what we just heard, just based on the fact that from the HomeAway perspective, the media dollars, there are obviously brand dollars versus DR dollars. However, a lot of it's blended. What I've learned over the course of the last few years is to just better understand how a lot of those dollars are working together with each other. That's where we really kind of try to focus in on making sure that we're targeting the right customers at the right time based on a lot of those actions that we're seeing on the site. So it's mapping a lot of that out, and just from a acquisition perspective, it's also trying to drive those acquisition costs down from an organic perspective. So, nothing too different there from our business model.
I think like a lot of digitally native brands that have started in the past couple of years, you start initially on Facebook, on Instagram, on Google, so you become extremely kind of reliant and expectant on immediate kind of and clear attribution and results. And I think that kind of mentality has carried through even as we've moved on to other channels. That the attribution is difficult enough for DR spending, that doing attribution for brand and measuring that seems like I still don't totally understand how that's done at all. If someone wants to explain it to me, I'll be here all week. And Facebook and Instagram are, I think, fairly top of funnel, and I think you can think of them that way. But we also, use our like Eric was saying, use our organic and our social as the place where we do most of our brand. We do a lot of influencer, but we do product exchange. Or, we're lucky that we have a product that is very Instagrammable, and we get a lot of user-generated content. And so that's something we're really proactive about in terms of sharing that, in terms of sponsoring micro-influencers, but with product only. So we don't really have to be completely on top of the ROI on influencers, because that's, again, discount codes, swipe ups, view throughs, all these things that muddy the waters, and so we can really focus on kind of our bread and butter, which is DR response.
that's something that we didn't talk about, actually, influencers, but we were talking about how social media and what role that plays. With branding, there's a lot of, it's mission, voice, palette, but then on social media, there's a direct-to-consumer connection points that brands have now. What are the pros and cons of social media? How reliant are you guys? And if you are using social media in any form, is it best to have an agency be part of that process, or to keep it in-house and have the brand speak directly to consumers versus an agency? Loaded question, but...
From our perspective, it's a hybridized approach, because a lot of the community management needs to reside in-house. Just because we are in a more highly regulated type of industry, we do need to make sure that there is adequate care and handling of consumer communications within our social platforms. However, when we're thinking about it from a branding perspective, we really start to lean into our agency partners. And part of the reason in doing so is that it allows us to carry that common thread of consistency of messaging throughout our creative, but also making sure that they're tailoring it to the right platform. Because one of the things that we've learned, and I think that everybody here already knows as a consumer, is that there needs to be a consistent type of voice and feel. However, the way that you portray that within each of the platforms needs to feel more organic in nature. And so that's the reason we do lean into our agency partners and our supplier partners as well, is to keep us abreast of those best practices, so it doesn't appear that we are a 64-year-old company on Instagram.
Yeah, I think you've got to understand where your core competencies are as a business and as an organization, and if you believe that your relationship with your customer and your audience is something that you do better than anyone else, which you probably should, then you should certainly do it in-house. But if you're not new to, if you're a 66-year-old company and you have no idea how to tweet, and you're thinking your posts are search terms, and then all of a sudden the world turns upside down on you, then yeah, you got to bring in outside help. So for us, as a small organization, our relationship with our customers is our competitive advantage, and it's how we beat the big players who are just, selling on price and convenience and all the retailers around the world. So we need to build that bond and have that direct connection with our audience, whether it is through our outbound communication or on the receiving end when they reach out to us and directly respond to them.
So I would say we use our social channels very much from an organic and a paid perspective, but I would say that a lot of what we do, it's kind of a hybrid approach. The way that we approach it from a global perspective is try to bring our own expertise. So we've got an in-house agency that is building a lot of the brand communications so that we do have cohesion, we have consistency across the globe, and we start to kind of build out what that story is globally, and then we lean on a lot of agency partners for the purposes of scale to truly make sure from a production standpoint we are looking at what a consumer in the UK wants to hear from us separately from what a consumer in the United States wants to hear. So a lot of it's been building out a lot of that just overall infrastructure so that we're doing that in the right way. But social is definitely one of the key channels that we utilize just to make sure that we're building that message in the right way and reaching consumers.
I think, because of how much social advertising we do, and like Andy, we're a super regulated industry, so a lot of this stuff is important for us to be in control of. So what we will outsource is, let's say, email or calls, but social, I think, is very important and response is very important to bring in-house from a marketing perspective, because it's a really great way to monitor what's working, what's not working. Nothing can, just to make sure that there's no errant comments or weird things going on in the ads that you're putting, thousands of dollars behind, but also to then be able to iterate, say, okay, people are responding to this, why are they responding to this, and engage through that respect. And I think it's fastest, to understand that if you have it in-house.
One last question before we QA. You guys live and breathe your own brands, and we definitely talked about how brands that have really mastered their own voice, their own data, are the ones that are successful. What brands do you or your company aspire to be like?
There are two of them that, for me, I've been pleasantly surprised with. The first is Keeps, because I'm losing my hair, and I need to keep what I got. So the entire buying process and being prescribed, the medication, telemed, it worked very well for me. The follow-up, the communications, the life cycle marketing, it's all good. I really admire that brand. Learned about them through social and then saw the advertising on TV. The other is Credible, because I'm now refinancing student loans. And I just went to one source previously, but Credible did a wonderful job in kind of digging through to understand what it was I was looking for in the provider, and then matching me with this rando company in Kentucky that I would have never found about, and saved 2 percentage points off my my rate. So those are my two.
Cool. For me, as a small brand, I'm actually drawn to other small brands, and of course, as the hipster-looking dude, I like to know about brands before they're cool. So there's a shoe company out of New York called Koyo, like the koi fish with an O at the end, and they make kind of like these premium sneakers. And I really like more of like the visual aesthetic of what they're trying to do, and kind of like the creative that they've done. And then on the other end of the spectrum is another consumer goods brand called Crew, like Mardi Gras Crew, Krewe, and they do eyewear. Again, premium eyewear, nice eyewear, sunglasses. So I'm a little bit of a sunglasses junkie too. So I kind of look for them for more of inspiration for how they're building their brand and telling their story and building their website, social media, and Instagram, and how the visualization works. So they're pretty cool.
So two that I would say apply to our space. One is Everlane. So Everlane is a brand that I knew as a New Yorker originally and saw kind of grow from infancy into what it is today. They are completely transparent in everything they do, from the infographics on their site explaining where they've sourced materials to the actual out-of-box experience and what you receive as a consumer, how you know it's helping the world, etc. So I think it's phenomenal because they have truly built their brand purpose into everything that they do from top to bottom, which is something to aspire to. From a travel perspective, I've definitely been noticing and truly analyzing Away as a brand. And I pick Away, it's obviously a luggage brand, but they are truly making themselves a travel lifestyle company. And you see them bringing that to life and the content that they're bringing to consumers, and the just how inspiring their email is as a standalone channel. They've just truly been trying to define, again, what their purpose is through the communications. So it's great to have brands out there that are truly doing this well, that all of us can learn from.
So I guess I look at everything very much from a marketer's eye when I'm scrolling through my feed. And I think the presenter at the beginning kind of showed all these ads that looked exactly the same. So I'm trying to, I guess, always on the lookout for companies that are doing something different, or that are, showing themselves by fitting in more to the Instagram feed, to the more organic look, and or not looking like ads on TV or elsewhere. And I think Dollar Shave Club is still doing a lot of really interesting stuff with you shooting on iPhones, quick editing, kind of things that might be a little gross or abrasive, but that fit in very much with what people watch on Instagram, which is like pimple popping videos. I think Thinks does a good job as well in terms of being and leaning into what their product is, and not kind of shying away from the subject matter. And I think that kind of attracts people, and that's the kind of stuff we try to do as well.
Well, thank you guys. A lot of niche brands.
time for some questions. Right back here.
Hey there, this is Steve Moynihan with Jebit. We are a declared data company. And it's a kind of open question for the panel. Valerie, you mentioned kind of up front that you guys spend a lot of time trying to understand like travelers' pain points, those types of things to kind of better kind of match them. Eric, I noticed on your website you have this pretty awesome like beard quiz, you know, to try and get to like understanding the consumer better. For all of you, I guess it's a two-part question. One, is it important to understand kind of interest, motivation, kind of like the why behind the buy? You know, why people are interested in Hubble contacts or HomeAway or insurance? And if it is, how do you guys go about doing that right now?
I mean, I'll answer real quickly. For us, you know, it's less about like, Beardbrand wasn't the strategy of there's a bunch of bearded people out there and we want to make a product and disrupt the marketplace and, you know, put Gillette out of business. It was more of an extension of myself. So, you know, for Beardbrand, it is just like, to a certain degree, like, what do I see in the world and what do I want to do in the world and how do we do it and then how do we find people who are like-minded? So it's less about kind of understanding consumers and shifting our brand to serve them and more of just being confident in who we are.
I think it's truly recognizing that research needs to be at the center of any decisions that you're making. So we're constantly trying to utilize data to test things. We try to look at ourselves from a scientific approach so that we are constantly taking that as a data feed in from our customers. So hearing what the experience is, understanding what went wrong, what went right, how we could actually action off a lot of that to continue to improve the product. I think all of that comes to life, but it's just this constant, rigorous testing around all of this. So always having hypotheses, always trying to think of different ways of being able to prove out what could be a better experience than another, and then continuing to refine on that.
Gihan from Ministry Supply has a question for Eric. I was wondering, you talked about YouTube and the content you've generated there. What types of content, the kind of balance do you see being most effective to continue engagement with customers that's not overly branded but still provides value to the customer?
Yeah, we're a big believer in provide value first, and then if you provide value, there's going to be that inherent trust that you've built. So the challenge is how many videos can you create on how to grow a beard? The answer is one. You just wait.
I see a lot of beards here, by the way.
So, you know, we've had to think creatively how to come up with new content. We have over 1,000 videos we've created. And you can really get into the specifics of that by delivering content on ways to how to deal with curly beards or wavy beards, but also like show them the experience that they can have through grooming and what that can look like. So we have very, very little content that is, you know, like promotional type of content, and those videos perform terribly for us too. So it's just really like almost all of our organic content is just like 100% brand and tell the story and provide value.
Good morning. My name is Tristan. I'm from Quantcast. Excuse me. I'm a little intimidated talking to you, Eric, since I have the facial hair of a baby sheep. But the question would be for Eric and Dan, just how are you understanding the audiences that you already have, their behavior in the open internet, and then leveraging those insights to reach similar audiences out in the open internet? Social and Facebook, obviously, fantastic ways to build a brand. But what are they doing outside of those platforms, and how are you reaching others based on those insights?
Well, I mean, great question, and it's actually the problem that I'm trying to solve right now. Is Beardbrand is a men's grooming company, so obviously in the name is Beardbrand, and dudes with beards buy from us. But we're a men's grooming company, so we have shampoo, conditioner, body soap, utility balm, all these things that require no beard. So. I wish I knew that answer right now because it's a problem I'm trying to solve. So if anyone out there knows that answer, let me know, or maybe we just need to double down and stick to our niche. But we're still in that discovery phase right now.
I think in the first year or so, we were able to test so many audiences on Facebook, on Instagram, that we got a lot of insight kind of about who our target customer is, and we're then able to leverage that when we went on to to other channels, whether it was TV or partnerships or influencers. We had a great sense of who that is. So we weren't kind of just shooting blindly into the wind. And we knew, okay, this type of audience was working. So we're always testing. We kind of use the digital space as a way to test audiences' interests, and then use that data and leverage it for kind of our more both top of funnel and offline marketing.